From your pack of clay, roll out, use about 2/3 of it to make the manger. To make the manger, what I like to do is get a piece of A4, fold it in half, pop it into our clay and find an area where it fits so you've still got plenty of clay left to work with. And you might find a skewer tool or a small knife or even a darning needle to use to cut pieces and also to scratch, which we'll need to do later on in the video. Before we get rid of that, we're going to use the remainder of the slab and we will lightly curve the manger because we'll need a base on which to place all of our figures. And I'm actually going to, rather than going across here, I've chosen to go out a little bit just to make a little bit more room on which for the figures to be placed later. With the manger complete with the remaining amount of clay plus that, you're going to need to knead it on a bench at home, provided it's stable. You're going to need to divide your clay into 1, 2, 3 pieces so that you have enough for each figure. These figures cannot be a solid piece. If they are solid, they will retain too much moisture and they will crack in the kiln. Take off about half, which we will use for modelling the arms, the upper torso and the head. Make a small ball with that. What I like to do is get a slightly thick paintbrush and you can use that to go almost to the end of the clay. You'll be able to feel this. Once that is done, you can feel for any areas. I'm going to use this as the belly of her dress, and what I'm going to do with this little piece here, I'm going to attach this here, which will be the top of her dress, and I'm going to roll this so that I roll a bit thinner here and here to create the arms. When joining anything in clay, please be mindful to scratch like so, and then using a thick brush or a toothbrush perhaps. Continuing on, I've rolled a little ball to form Mary's head, and once again we're going to scratch using a skewer or a needle. Use a brush to create that slip, that clay and water, and we're going to repeat that process with this little ball. It's going to be Mary's head. We always give it a little bit of pressure and wriggle it around so that we can feel that join. For Mary's hair, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little bit of a braid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little tiny bit of clay, and even if it's just at the front, it will go a long way to creating a little bit of a look. I'm going to repeat that for the other side of her hair, and then at the back, I'm just going to blend that in. Use a needle or a skewer to press along the middle to create a little bit of a part. And you might like to add some lines to create a little bit more texture. To create her braids, and I'm going to roll that out into a long coil. I'm going to cut that coil into 2. I'm going to just twist those together just to create a little bit of a braid. And I'm just going to pop that next to her head, add a little bit of water, and then once again I'm just going to blend that in. And I've got this little C-shaped tool, and I might use that just to make an impression to create her little eyes. Okay, for Joseph. For Joseph, we repeat the same process for the arms and the top of the torso, blending at the back, and the same for the head. It's a very similar process to create his hair and beard, and you might wish to create his little shepherd's hook as well. To create baby Jesus, what we will do is we'll only need a small amount of clay. If you wish to create a manger, you can use this bit here. Make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to push a little bit there, and then, as always, scratching, creating slip. You can use a needle tool to add added texture if you wish. Now that this is dried out sufficiently, you'll be able to join the base and the sides of the manger. And we'll need to scratch the manger. With that being done, we're going to need to use our paintbrush to use slip on the backing of this. Place it like so. Now we want to push all the air bubbles out of the sill. That being done, we're going to need to reinforce this with a small sausage of clay like so. So we'll take a bit of clay from our leftover pieces, our brush to that edge, and then we're going to place this sausage of clay, which is going to reinforce this, make it a little bit stronger. We're going to push all the way along this join here, which can be done, of course, with scratching and scoring. So here, scratch that area there to use a little bit of water and your brush to create slip. This is going to trap oils, so don't forget to include a little pinpoint in an inconspicuous place to release that air and make sure that the form fully dries out. Give him a little wriggle to attach him fully, and then that's the final product.